But just know that every one of these spaces is equally loved. Equally loved. Yeah. I'm so glad that we are here. And just that moment to pause, notice arriving, notice maybe some habits and patterns around where we sit, or maybe notice ourselves disrupting our habit or pattern. We tend to sit at the back, we're going to sit up front, vice versa. And then if someone invites an offering to kind of, maybe shift around, seeing how we are with that. We're like, oh, I have to shift, I was here, I was comfortable. Or, wow, okay, I'll shift easily. So in these ways, I'm describing a kind of invitation to take whatever formal mindfulness practices we may be engaged in, or maybe need to dust off from time to time because we haven't started the practice, we aren't as regular with it as we might like to be. But the invitation is to take whatever formal practices off the cushion, if you will, and into the world. And to recognize, of course, that can be any moment of our lives. And in a certain sense, perhaps might be every moment of our lives, because how we do any one thing really is a reflection of how we might do everything, how we might relate to all of it. So this is my long way of saying thank you for already beginning to join me in co-creating a space for us to explore what mindfulness is in these times, what these awareness practices, broadly speaking, whether we call it mindfulness or not. So pausing to invite whatever practice you have for becoming more present, remembering what's most important, and acting from intentionality around that. Opening your heart, so that quality of loving, purposeful attending. So whatever practices we have here, fill in the blank here. Maybe for you prayer, maybe some sort of movement practice. Some of us see music, attending to music, and all those ways as a form of a kind of practice that helps us wake up and get out of our habit mind, and become more present to what is, what matters, what our life potential. In the Yoruba tradition, there's a term ashe for life force. Right? So there are many different traditions and practices that invite this purposeful sort of intentionality around how to be in relationship with the moments of our lives, and how to bring more care into those moments in a way that includes care for this body, ourselves, right? This soft belly, carbon-based human being doing, right? That the earth, the universe, this mystery that we're in somehow called forth. Each of us, different times, dates, even if there are probably 2 or 3 in here who have the same birthday, born at different seconds and minutes. So somehow, through one moment, by the way, each of us, let's just name it, somehow got called for by this mystery of life. And we're here.
You're welcome.
We're here. So there is, for me, in the tradition of practice that I offer here, just this invitation to become even more aware of whatever ways we have of pausing, remembering, checking in with the quality of our own hearts, and then seeing how such a practice, if done regularly, might support us in navigating these waters. The waters. What's the water like where you are? For many people, it can feel rough these days. For many people, it can feel a little bit like a flood these days. Yeah? So, these practices then are really an invitation for us to, again, really cultivate a sense of self-dominion, right? Recognizing, again, we did come to this planet at a certain time, not of our choosing. We were brought forth by a lot of causes and conditions in love. Y'all hear me all right? Try to speak up a little bit. Okay, so let me speak up. So we're all, I'll stand too a little bit until I need to say. We're all called forth. We know we have this one precious life. How do we want to live it? I think these practices, whether we call them mindfulness, awareness, prayer, whatever it is that might bring us to a deeper commitment to live on purpose and with a quality of, let's say, regenerating, renewing love. I'm going to use the L word from time to time in this practice today. So, again, I was mentioning that for all of us, we have this one precious life. And I really do mean that. No matter what we've been up against, what types of floods, what types of difficulties we're experiencing, we have this one precious life that we, in a certain sense, this is a gift. This is how I see it. And by the way, everything I say, I'm going to offer it as provisional, try it on. It's what it's like for me in this moment, and then the inquiry is always underneath it. What's it like for you? What's it like for you? For me, from this place of practice, and I'll just name it 56 years on the planet, born in 1967, the last year of Martin Luther King's life on the planet, and by the age of 1, of course, we were in the post-King era in the sense that he had been assassinated, and I was delivered into this sort of world that was created from all of that. And I was born in North Carolina, in a small town called Kinston, into a family where, you can look at those who are able to see and use the visual senses. You can see I'm a petite, brown-skinned woman, cisgender female, right? And so born in North Carolina at a time when the legacies of history of segregation and white supremacy had formed a certain kind of community. The community I lived in was completely all black. And it had been historically, through a lot of causes and conditions, intentionally created. Meaning there was redlining, there were laws and rules and formal and informal policies around who could live where and who could work where and what kind of income could be made. So into that context I was born, and my grandmother, Nanny Suggs, had been born many years before me in 1906, so just at the beginning of the last century, and had lived through that era, survived through that era partly because she had been called to a certain kind of ministry, a certain kind of disciplined, contemplative practice. She woke up every day before dawn. Before she had to get up, right? 30 minutes, 40 minutes before she had to be anywhere, and the light would go on underneath the closed door to her room, and we would see. And I later learned, I was a toddler, I didn't always know, but I later learned that she was spending 20, 30, 40 minutes in her own devotional commitment to starting the day with purpose and intention. And only then coming out and doing what she needed to do to take care, get food ready, get us out where we needed to go. So having witnessed this grandmother who lived with a very difficult set of social circumstances, causes and conditions, ceilings on opportunity, but having witnessed her find a way to intentionally ground herself in her own possibility and potential, I think that was an inspiration for me. And so as I stand here today, when I say I think every life is precious, I have a lot of inputs to that. I've witnessed, again, lives that were challenged. Talk about floods. Talk about the struggle that many of us may be facing in our own different ways right now, and we might be seeing in our own communities right now. These floods and challenges are not new. Each of us, because we're here, we come through folks who figured out some ways to survive, so we know something about challenge and difficulty, whatever our lineage. We don't know the same thing. We don't have the same stories, each of us. 10,000 different unique stories in this room. I can hear my grandmother saying, hallelujah. Response to that. But we come from survivors, or we wouldn't be here. And yet, to live in freedom and love and peace is a constant struggle. I'm paraphrasing Angela Davis, who was paraphrasing others before her. Because anybody who's done the work of freedom and seeking a deep kind of liberation that's not only for ourselves, but for the planet and for all of us, we know that the difficult times come. And so the question is, how do we meet them? And for me, mindfulness practices support us in coming to some clarity around the facts of life, that it's impermanent for all of us, that it's precious and sweet, that all of our lives have value, but any one of us will suffer in life. And ultimately, as they say, with as much levity as we can bear on this one, none of us gets out of this alive. Meaning, it's a finite time. So how do we want to live? For me, with some awareness, with some intentionality, with a lot of love. Hallelujah again, thank you. For this, right? This retreat, this workshop, this session aimed at helping us take love into the world. This is a commitment that I think all of us must share, or else we wouldn't be. And yet, to take love into the world now is not easy. We've heard that spoken to since this morning's beautiful session, where we had these great wisdom teachers identifying for us some of the ways they think of love, but also acknowledging the challenges. The challenge that I want to point to today, now in particular, is a challenge of feeling worthy, feeling some quality of love for ourselves. How many of you heard or know something about this struggle, or something today in some presentation or another, or know something about that struggle in your own life to really feel a quality of love? And I want to pause with that, because again, I think we aren't often given time to pause with how we're doing with self-love and self-care. And it can sound a little bit luxurious for some of us, you know, or we can just have some reactivity to the idea that we might pause for self-love and self-care. Or maybe we're okay with us pausing, but we're not sure that person next to us really deserves too much, right? I mean, so pausing to see what comes up, you know, it could be any of the 10,000 ways that thoughts come up in response to anything I say. And this too is an invitation to mindfulness. A kind of mindful awareness of what thoughts, emotions, maybe it doesn't even start as an emotion, it might start as a feeling tone, which in the traditional practices of mindfulness, we talk about establishing mindfulness in the body as the first establishment. So let's maybe practice as I go through this with you along the way, this kind of establishing of a mindfulness with an invitation to have it support us in self-care, self-love, self-remembering. So starting with the first traditional establishment of mindfulness in the body. And so in whatever way, again, we can use mindfulness or not, really the invitation, use the words that best suit you, is to come home to this body. Come home to the fact that we're here, that you are here, that we have traveled some distance. For me, it was the west coast from San Francisco to be with you. Or we had to come out of some engagement, but you're here. Some conversation, some work, you're here. Can we fully arrive? Can we feel feet on the floor? Can we feel buttocks in this chair? And imagine that this chair was actually created for you, for your body, for this moment. It certainly started out in the mind of some designer with a view that somebody would be sitting in it one day. Why not you? So just imagine allowing yourself to really drop in and feel the sense of this body, in this chair, in this room, earth supporting us. And I say us because here, as in every moment of our lives, we are all sharing this one planet. And so we will leave this engagement at some point today, sooner than we might think. But please know that for the rest of our lives, in that sense, we'll be together. we will always, as long as we're still breathing, be breathing together on this one planet. And then at that point when we are no longer, all of the research tells us, again, we are still the beneficiaries of the shared elements of which our bodies are all comprised. We are all comprised of the same elements. So in a certain sense, who are we really? And who are we to not feel like we belong? And who are we to feel alone here? We belong, we're always together, we always have been, we're just having a chance to know this. So feeling this body and allowing yourself in your own way in these few moments to take a few conscious breaths with that quality of curiosity and love that I mentioned before. Perhaps doing a gentle scan to just see how you're doing right now. Is there, as you gently scan up from feet, through lower legs, upper legs, torso, breathing in and out, noticing points of contact where the body is shifting with the in-breath and out-breath. And if you're willing, perhaps on the next out-breath, allowing a sound to be released to support you relaxing just a little bit. Y'all are not used to sounding practice, I hear. There's quiet over there. Let's try one more time on the in-breath and on the out-breath. Relax and listen just a little bit more. The neuroscientists tell us that long out-breath is really nourishing. So just notice what happens in the next in-breath. See if you can breathe in deeply from down in the diaphragm. And then releasing, relaxing just a little bit longer than you breathe in. Releasing all of the carbon dioxide. You're often holding a little bit more than you think. Yeah, and being kind to yourself, just listening and letting go of any of these instructions that they don't work as intuitively, they don't work for you. You are your own inner teacher here. So rest. And as we settle in to this sense of the body, just noticing the body coming online, this breathing practice actually activates the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, this autonomic nervous system. The vagus nerve is getting a little stimulated. And what can happen there can be coughs, sighs, tears can start to form. Your body, your nervous system is sort of getting a little bit of a gentle support for coming back into a state of relaxed alertness. Yeah. So just let it be. Everything is okay as we rest. We are supporting ourselves and just breathing gently, lightly now, settling in. And feeling again this body sort of shifting into kind of closer intimacy with this natural capacity we have for a nurturing relationship with our breathing. And so just as we've invited this resting in awareness of sitting and breathing and the kind of gift of this moment, this chair as a support, this room prepared for you, your good fortune in being able to be here in some sense, allowing maybe a gentle check-in into the quality of the heart as we rest in this body in this moment. And if there's been anything challenging about your experience, this practice so far, this day, this period of your life, you might place one hand over the heart, or I often rub my hands together before this part of the practice, and maybe place the hands over the eyes, or both hands over the heart. So here's what it is. It's an invitation to inquire. Where in my body might my own gentle touch be comforting, loving? I often, as you know, work with law students, and I've had students sometimes after this practice saying, oh my gosh, I don't remember the last time I've touched my face in a sort of loving way, as opposed to like some sort of like gesture of fatigue or exhaustion or despair. But this is an invitation to invite the same kind of tactile support that you might give a friend or a loved one who might need to feel your hand in theirs or your hand at their back. Again, the neuroscientists, neurobiologists tell us, remind us that our own gentle, loving touch has the capacity to support us just in the same ways that our hand in the hand of a loved one, a child in need, is supportive. So just experiment, give yourself permission. My students sometimes say, it's a little bit like permission to give myself a hug. And it is, you can. So we're establishing this sense of mindfulness of the body and really bringing that quality of care and love right home to our experience right now. And there's so many different ways that we can enhance this kind of practice. But just for now, I just want to give that much of a taste and an introduction or an invitation to sort of invite this sort of establishing of mindfulness in this body. And bring in quality of appreciation or love. Whatever perfect or imperfections, like whatever qualities we're in, to see that, as John Kabat-Zinn often says, if we're breathing, there's more right than wrong with us right now. So if we can just notice the things that are well, it reminds me of what my grandmother would say. It is well within my soul. And inviting an inquiry, where is it well? Is there a place where there is a sense of ease in this body? So coming home to that. Knowing skin, flesh, bones, always changing. This body is different today than it was yesterday, and actually now than it was 5 minutes ago. And those changes will continue to happen. So as we establish mindful awareness, we're gently opening up that aperture of insight into impermanence that's always present in these bodies. Again, this precious life, we have these moments. We don't know how many more we have, but we have this one. So bringing in love and bringing in that insight of like, all right, this is my life. This is my life power. Second, establishment of mindfulness in feeling tone. So inquiring, opening up, how's this body feeling? Are there places and spaces where it's hard for you, difficult? You might be working with pain. Again, we're all sitting in these chairs. On Zoom, we would be in these rectangles, and we get this false sense that everybody's experience is exactly the same. No, it's 1,000% different for each of us. Our bodies are different. We might be carrying something different. So bringing in kind of compassion, trusting and knowing that there are struggles happening in this room that are not obvious by just looking at people. And we're in families and other situations where we're carrying things. Or we're experiencing delight and joy. And so every experience here is its own. And so to open up that aperture on what we have in common, these bodies, the capacity to breathe together, to rest, to attune to our intentions with love and care. So we have this certain aspects of this human experience in common humanity. But then we're each meeting these moments quite differently at the same time. Can we handle that? The both and. common humanity, radical differentiatedness. So just noticing if in your body there's any difficult emotions. So it could just be a little bit of something feeling uncomfortable, tight, warm, or it could be sadness coming up, anger coming up, or been there, been hanging out in the background. Pause, we're just noticing. So mindfulness of body and feeling tone invites mindfulness of mind, the quality of mind, what's happening as we sit with our bodies, what thoughts are coming up, and are we able to just notice thoughts? And if so, can we notice the quality of awareness? So that's thinking, that's me feeling a little bit of sadness. That quality of awareness in the mind's eye, you might call it. How is that for you? Is there an openness that we're settling into as you breathe in and out and rest in these moments, in this body, in this chair? This quality of this receptive, open mind that can notice thought, can notice breathing, can notice sound. That quality of awareness is something that we can cultivate with these practices of pausing like this. And just bringing love and care to whatever is coming up. Rolling out the welcome mat. There's nothing, you need do nothing right now to be okay and welcome. Just as you are. Just as you are. So, from this place of checking into the body and then noticing the quality of our heart, the invitation I would offer is to just think of some way in which this invitation to experience self-love is challenging for you in this moment. There could be a story or an incident that's coming up, some difficult experience you had recently that is reminding you of the challenge, or it could be a struggle that you know dates back to the early days of childhood. This morning we were hearing a presentation in which those bringing the Enneagram into the prison context were sharing about some of the ways they realized deep-seated wounds from childhood. Part of what made it difficult for them to feel love for themselves. What is it like for you? And again, here, maybe just notice the invitation to just see if you can turn a little bit toward some aspect, maybe not the most difficult aspect of what you might be carrying, because for the purposes of this practice, we just want to open up a little bit of gentle permission, allowing of what might be in your heart that might be hard to hold. A little bit of a letting go, just touching into some painful experience that you continue to carry. And I've already placed hands back on the heart for myself. I am remembering at the age of 3 and 4, parents separating and seeing my father leaving again, and really on some level feeling like somehow this was my fault or my responsibility, that my father would eventually leave and not come back when I was 4, 5, 6. never to be seen again after. That was 7. We have these experiences that can imprint on us in the ways that were described in the session we were there, and leave us feeling, as children, we make up stories about why it was so. And so for some of us, when we think of what might be making it hard for us to really experience self-love, we might be going back to something in childhood. Or it could be a current relationship you're in right now, which is difficult. So whatever is coming up for you, see if you can just be with it, allow it, and allow a sense of your awareness practice, this established mindfulness that we've been cultivating, as a kind of container, gentle, like I'm holding my hands out now to sort of suggest mindfulness as a sort of gentle, soft place for your wounded heart to fall. It's like it has you can hold this awareness, this mystery of life, like the earth itself, which day in, day out, rain, sleet, the rivers, the floods, it holds it and spring comes. It holds it and a new life forms. Our mindfulness practices, to me, sometimes has that quality of just expansive capacity to hold whatever is happening, including these memories of something difficult. So again, just enough of a light touch in here. And now the invitation is to see if you can, again, just be with the quality of the challenge for you. Are there places and spaces where you feel it, in particular in your body right now? And if so, maybe putting that gentle hand just where you can feel it. And breathing in and breathing out. Here I am once again rubbing the hands together to get this energy of warmth. And inviting the sense of the love and care that this hand might place over that difficult place in the body. Like the warmth of the sun. Thich Nhat Hanh, one of my teachers in the broad tradition of teachers, beautifully speaks about the quality of love as and compassion as being, like the sun, like the heart, like the sun. So can we notice these places that are painful and pause to see if we're willing to breathe in and out, and whether we place the hand there or not, see if we can at least invite opening up to the capacity that might be in us to hold this difficulty with a sense of awareness. There's also sunlight here, if you will, this metaphorical sunlight of the love in your heart. There's also space, and if the body needs to stand or move as you're experiencing this, I want to invite standing or moving as you're coming into awareness of this any difficulty. But again, seeing if you can sense into what the body might call for here. Is it humming? Is it placing that hand in that loving way that I mentioned? Is it moving just a little bit? I'm going to do a little humming, and anybody who feels like humming might help. I want to invite you to join me. It doesn't have to sound in any special way. It doesn't have to sound like we're trying to record a beautiful song. But whatever comes up, the energy of loving support for helping us attune to what we suffer from right now. just inviting and noticing of this ability we might have to see if what is difficult, we might see it in a certain place in our body with a certain kind of light, temperature, maybe shifting a little. See if just being able to open up a little bit of space allows us to notice, oh, there's also a way of holding this that maybe has a little more spaciousness, that maybe has a little bit more flow to it. Because every moment, in ways that are not always obvious, is a changing moment. Every moment. So if we can pause and invite mindful attending to this difficulty, we might be able to notice some way in which it might not be exactly the same. So just bringing, again, kindness. So what I'd like to do as we bring this meditation toward a close is invite even more of this quality of loving kindness. We call it metta. But really it's this willingness to care for our own experience. And so I want to invite a sort of developing a little bit of a phrase, or inviting a phrase to capture what it is you'd like to be feeling in relationship to this difficulty. What it is you'd like to experience in relation to this difficulty. And I'm going to ask you to repeat a phrase in your mind as if you're already there, because neuroscientists tell us there's some way in which when the mind starts to believe something, it starts to become more real in our brain. So the invitation is to imagine what you'd like to feel in relationship to this difficulty. And then I'm going to invite you to say inwardly, silently to yourself, I feel blank. And you're basically saying, I already feel this thing. So first, what is it you'd like to feel in relationship to the difficulty? And then the other part of this statement, this mantra we're going to create is, I feel this positive. For me, it might be joy. I feel joy. And then the last part of the mantra is when and then fill in the blank. What is it that allows you perhaps, or might allow you to feel the way you'd like to feel in relationship to this difficulty? For me, there was a difficulty that I was carrying because I grew up in a home where I was abused. And I felt always the need to be protecting myself against the threat of some, I always felt like I had to be on guard. I felt at risk of some sort of threatening encounter in my home as a child at a certain point. And I did this particular practice once and realized I wanted to feel joy in the body where that terror had been. I wanted to feel joy where that sense of abandonment had been. And the phrase I came up with was, I feel joy when and the second part was when I relax into love. The love that I'm just beginning to feel for myself. This was the case at the time when this phrase was important in my healing. I was just beginning to feel the kind of love for myself. So I know I want to feel more joy. I feel it when I start to relax into love. So I'm going to say, I feel joy when I relax into love. And the invitation is for you to discern what might be a phrase that could support you in working with this particular challenge. Ultimately, This is just one example of a kind of practice that we might explore, or really turning toward that which might be a barrier to your feeling the love that I truly believe every human being is meant to feel. What might be that barrier for you, and what are some of the ways, this is just one example, that we might actively work with. This is using a mantra combined with meditation. This invitation to sort of meet that pain with a sort of an intention, a desire to be free. A desire to be free of that. So now, in these next few moments, I'm going to ring this bell and just invite just a few moments of sitting in silence, allowing ourselves to maybe replay this mantra, maybe move and hum if you like. You could sing. You could do a little bit of walking meditation if that feels right. But in the next few minutes of silence, I'll ring a bell in and ring us out, allowing yourself to sort of explore what might be coming up for you in your own loving way.